Hello, my name's Jane Sheat, Dawson Director of Education. I've got one of the best jobs in Suffolk because it's my job really to support our church schools, and there are 87 of them right across Suffolk, most of them primary, 2 of them in Debenham and Bury St Edmunds secondary. It's a real privilege to serve schools, and together with a small team we do our level best to provide support on RE, on collective worship, on buildings and admissions in our aided schools, and to do all that we can to value and encourage teachers and head teachers in particular and governors working in those schools. It's a great pleasure to do that, and we want to provide resources so that teachers feel able to communicate the gospel and communicate Christianity in their RE lessons and in collective worship. And I thought it might be helpful to share with you a couple of those resources which I do commend to you. The first is called Flipping Praise, and here's a copy. It's something we use across the east of England in some of our neighbouring dioceses, and it's a fabulous resource that enables you to plan collective worship really simply based around Church of England liturgy. It will give you a really helpful structure for assemblies, so please don't go short of ideas. Do use this. We've got order forms available. The other thing which we've developed in recent years through Helen Matter's good work on my team is something called the Emmanuel Project, and this is really a teaching resource for our teachers in Church of England schools, and particularly for primary schools. There are a number of teaching units all about teaching Christianity, and then another set of resources all about teaching the other world religions, and it's been incredibly popular and very much appreciated by schools. I guess at a time when in an increasingly secular society, teachers can feel de-skilled, our job is to encourage, to equip, resource and value them. And so I commend those to you. If there are other ways in which we can support schools or you in your important role in working with schools, then please ask, and we'll be very pleased to support you with ideas or help of any sort. I thought it might be helpful to give you an idea of some of the current issues that schools are grappling with and the context in which we're working. It won't come as a surprise, because it's not often out the news, that funding is a real pressure for schools, and so we work hard to provide training and resources at a really cost-effective price so that as many schools as possible are able to join in and benefit from coming together with other like-minded schools. One of the other issues that many schools are thinking about is academisation, and the government's policy within which we work is still that schools are encouraged to become an academy, and so we work with schools to help them think through their options, and I spend a lot of time supporting them thinking about their strategy and their future and what's best going to serve the children in their care. We also are conscious that we're in a bit of a recruitment and retention crisis at the moment in teaching, as sometimes happens, and that's proving difficult now in Suffolk and across the country. So do keep schools very much in your prayers as we try to make sure we've got the best possible staff to support our pupils. One of the other things which schools particularly face in this diocese is being very small. So 40% of our 87 schools have fewer than 100 children, and that puts pressure in terms of the logistics of providing a great education and giving the children opportunity to learn with others as well. So we look at all sorts of ways of creatively bringing schools together, and a number of our schools already work in what's called a federation under one head teacher, one governing body over 2 or more schools. That's proved helpful, and it's also helped us with what can be a difficult issue, which is finding enough governors. And for those of you who might be involved as a school governor, you'll know already that it's a big job and it's an important voluntary role. And one of my big tasks really is to make sure we've got enough governors for all of our schools. We currently appoint about 300. I commend that role to you because it's a great way of growing in influence as part of our Dawson strategy. We have such opportunities then to meet with other governors, to share in the working of schools and to show our support for staff. One of the exciting things that this diocese has done in the last few years is to create a Dawson MultiAcademy Trust, and it's my privilege to be the CEO of that. We currently have 16 primary schools, all church primary schools in that, and that's been a great joy to bring it to birth and to see it grow and develop. The idea of a multi-academy trust is simply a legal entity which oversees the running of schools so that they're no longer under the control of the local authority. So that gives us great responsibility, but also huge influence and opportunity to influence for good the education of generations of children to come. Whereas the DBE, the Dawson Board of Education, has an advisory role and influence over schools, the MAT really is able to bring to bear Christian influence and values throughout its work, and it's been just a privilege to see that develop. We've been going now since 2015, and already we can see some of the benefits of collaboration, of working together, of sharing best practice, and we look to see that develop in years to come. It's something which a number of dioceses have established, but in our diocese we're particularly proud of the way in which schools work together and support each other. The most important thing for me is ensuring that church schools retain a Christian ethos, the basis on which they were set up, some schools as long as 200 years ago, with a Christian character, part of the Church of England family. And that's why we love to work closely with clergy and with governors and head teachers to do all that we can to safeguard that for the future and to value what's gone in the past. So we'd look to work with you to support you in whatever way we can, through our resources, through helping you to find volunteers perhaps, to run open the book assemblies in schools. Those are always hugely enjoyed by younger pupils. And to do what we can to bring the gospel to children in our schools. We love to do that in lots of different ways, and if we can support you in any way, please don't hesitate to contact us. We have a small team, but we're more than happy to come and talk to deanery synods or to give you some ideas for assemblies. And one of the things which is often unseen but very much appreciated by our schools is the pastoral work that can go on between clergy and schools. We provide resources for dealing with bereavement, which sadly affects so many school communities from time to time. And we're hugely grateful for our partnership with clergy at these difficult times for schools, which they surely remember and value. If there's anything else we can do, please don't hesitate to ask. It's our privilege to serve schools and, as I say, to work in partnership with you. And I'd like to wish you all the very best as you continue your ministry in this diocese.